you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego. And in today's MEGAphone episode, we will be shouting out the team over at the Ultrawellness Center and Dr. Mark Hyman. They have a great newsletter and a project called the Longevity Roadmap, which I learn a ton from. In a recent newsletter, they gave some really helpful information surrounding the topic of fruit that I'd like to share with you. Now, you may have noticed that fruit is a hot topic in the health and wellness world these days. Some experts claim that fruit is an essential part of a balanced diet, while others state that it is just as bad for our metabolic health as any other form of sugar. So what's the deal? Is fruit good for us, or is it not? Well, here's a shocker. The truth is not so black and white. Yeah, if you're confused about where fruit lands on the spectrum of diet and health, good or bad, well, with this episode, the goal here is to clear up any confusion to help take away any fruit phobia that you may be experiencing. In certain circumstances, fruit has a lot to offer. It's a rich source of polyphenols, dietary fiber, vitamins, and minerals. But when you start messing around with its whole food form, that's really where you're going to start to run into some problems. Today, I'm going to give you a no-nonsense guide to fruit so you can feel confident choosing the types that work best for you and the kinds that are better off limiting or avoiding completely when it comes to your goals. So let's start off with fructose with fiber is not the problem. Fructose with fiber is not the problem. We are biologically designed to convert excess sugar into fat and store that fat as energy for times when food isn't readily available. That's what our bodies do really well. Our liver is responsible for this conversion process, and it's really good at its job. The problem is that food is at our fingertips all the time, all day long, anytime we want it. And the majority of fructose that makes up the average person's diet actually comes from sugar-sweetened beverages and ultra hyper-palatable processed foods. That's right, the biggest culprit is high fructose corn syrup. This is an industrially processed sweetener that floods our liver with fructose and eventually leads to insulin resistance and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which we've talked about before. This affects 25%, 1 in every 4 adults, and 5 to 10%, 1 out of almost every 10 children. When you encounter a product with high fructose corn syrup, or even just the word fructose on its ingredients label, it's probably best to put it back on the shelf and just avoid it at all costs. On the other hand, though, the fructose that's in whole fruit, this is accompanied by soluble fiber, a type of cellular scaffolding that delivers many benefits. First, it slows down your body's absorption of fructose, and it gives your liver more time to metabolize this food. And the fiber in fruit, it also feeds the friendly flora in your gut, your microbiome, and cleans out your intestines. Research shows that consuming fruit does not have the same adverse effects on your weight, your blood pressure, your insulin, your triglycerides. Consuming fruit does not have the same adverse effects as consuming fructose from highly processed foods. But that doesn't mean that you should go crazy. Fruit is great in moderation, but if you're overweight or you have prediabetes or diabetes, you really shouldn't have more than maybe 1 or 2 servings of fruit a day. And ideally, you're going to pick the lower glycemic fruits, which we're going to discuss in just a second what that means. All fruits, they're not created equal. We want to focus on eating the fruit that contains slow absorbing carbohydrates. And what that means is that their sugar is released into your bloodstream gradually. And that's compared to quick absorbing carbohydrates that release their sugar rapidly, like any type of juice, orange juice, grape juice, beetle juice. You know, if it was me or my clients, I'd just stay away from all the juices. To grasp this concept, though, we first need to understand the difference between what glycemic index is and glycemic load is. Two different things, glycemic index and glycemic load. Glycemic index is a scale that measures how a particular food affects your blood sugar. The lower the glycemic index, the smaller the effect a food has on your insulin output, which is especially important if your goal is weight control. If weight control is an issue, then controlling your insulin is going to be really important because insulin is your fat storing hormone. So, for example, a high glycemic store item would be something like a soda or a slushie, something that is so easily digestible, metabolized by the body, and it just shoots sugar into the bloodstream. Now, a low glycemic index item would be something like grass-fed steak. One of these things spikes most people's blood sugar like no other, soda, and the other has almost no effect on most people's blood sugar, steak. So that's what the glycemic index is. That's what a certain food item does to your blood sugar, and that's just a certain amount of that food. Now, here's where glycemic load is actually much more important for us. Glycemic load is actually a more reliable way to measure the food's impact on your blood sugar and insulin response because it considers the response to the food as a whole. It takes the water content, the fiber content, the sugar content, and everything else going on, and it puts that into the equation for what its glycemic load is. So for example, watermelon is really high in sugar. It has a glycemic index of 72, and this is on a scale of 100. 100 on the glycemic index is pure glucose. So watermelon is up there at 72. But because watermelon is made up of almost all water, you don't get a huge hit of sugar per serving, and per serving is the huge detail here. That's why it's called glycemic load, and the glycemic load is still pretty low for watermelon at 4 instead of 72. So per serving is a really important thing here when it comes to glycemic load. When choosing which fruits to eat, you should let glycemic load be your guide. As a general rule of thumb, stick to eating whole fruit with a glycemic load of no more than 11. You can search a chart of food items for glycemic load anywhere on the internet and kind of see a list of things that are under 11. Low glycemic load fruits include oranges, watermelons, nectarines, and wild blueberries. On the other end, dried fruits like raisins and figs all have a glycemic load that's a little bit closer to like 30. So dried fruits, raisins, figs, closer to 30 glycemic load, which causes a blood sugar glucose response similar to eating a piece of chocolate cake. Now, do I think that eating dried raisins and figs are the same as eating chocolate cake? No, definitely not. But it appears on this scale, at least, that they have similar effects on the way that it makes the average person's blood sugar rise. So just something to keep an eye on and be aware of. Berries. Berries may be the best here. Among all the nutrients in the plants that we eat, antioxidants and phytochemicals are on a much deserved pedestal because they help prevent chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia, and arthritis, all these things that are currently plaguing our society. Plus, they can even help reverse the aging process. When shopping for produce, keep antioxidant-rich berries at the top of your list. Not only are they rich in polyphenols, like anthocyanins, but they also have the lowest blood sugar impact of any fruit. Some of my favorite are wild blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries. I eat them almost every single night as a post-dinner treat, and that's while I'm winding down and getting ready for my sleep routine. I can remember when I used to live back in Oregon with my grandma. We were really little, but there were blackberry bushes everywhere. We would just eat them nonstop, constantly off the vine. We would even go when they were really ripe. We would get buckets and we would get a whole freezer full of blackberries and make like pies and jams and all this stuff. Man, it really puts into perspective of like feeding off the land. I kind of miss that. Moving on to dirty or clean. Dirty or clean makes a difference. According to the Environmental Working Group, nearly 150 different pesticides can be found on fruits and vegetables, sometimes even after washing and peeling them. These nasty chemicals interfere with our reproductive system, and they can also cause cancer. How can you protect yourself? Well, the obvious answer is to only buy organic produce, but of course, that can get expensive quickly, especially if fruits and vegetables make up the bulk of your diet. So the Environmental Working Group's team, they came up with a list, 2 lists actually, the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. These lists, the fruit and vegetables found to have the most and the least pesticide residue. You can reference these lists to buy your groceries selectively and not worry about racking up your bill by only purchasing all organic varieties of every single produce item. So look for the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. You can find those on the internet. Fresh fruit isn't always the best choice. What? Fresh fruit? I thought fresh fruit was as good as it can get. Okay, so to keep it from rotting on its long, often overseas journey from the farm to your supermarket, fruit is often picked unripe. And as a result of that, its nutrients don't have a chance to fully develop. Plus, the longer that the fruit sits on the back of a truck, the more nutrients that it's going to lose. By the time it gets to you, it's possible that its nutrient composition is way less than it normally would be. That's where frozen fruit has its advantage. It's flash frozen right as its nutrient content peaks. And because it remains frozen until you thaw it and eat it, there's no need to worry about the nutrition content degrading during shipping. In some cases, the nutritional value actually increases in frozen fruit. Another bonus is that frozen produce is usually cheaper too. Ideally, you would want to try to visit your local farmer's market and get that food that is grown near to you because that has a particular microbiome that is more specifically similar to the food that you should be eating, the food that is around you, more than the food that has been grown and transported across the country to you. This fruit at the farmer's market probably will have the greatest nutrient density for you. Also, if you're tired of fruits and vegetables going bad, I just found this product that is just a simple piece of paper that you put in the container of your stored fruit. And it's supposed to extend the life of your food substantially, meaning you end up throwing away less, which is really important. I haven't actually used this product yet, but I'm looking into it. The particular brand that I heard about, it's called Fresh Paper. And online, it's like $10 for 8 sheets of paper. So it's not super cheap, but if it saves me from throwing out 50% of my produce because I don't get to it in time, I think it might be worth a try. So I'll do my best to check back in the next time we talk about fruit if I've used it. That paper is called Fresh Paper. Next, don't drink your fruit. Eat it. The number one fruit, quote unquote, consumed in America is orange juice. The number one fruit in America is orange juice. What? This is just about the worst way that you can consume fruit. Why? Because all that you get is the sugar with little to no fiber to slow its absorption. The glycemic load of an orange is 3. Remember, we want under 11. It's 3. While the glycemic load of orange juice is 12, 4 times higher, which means it raises your blood sugar much faster than eating an orange in its whole form. The other problem with drinking fruit is that it doesn't create the same sensation of fullness that you get compared to eating the fruit. Your brain and your body don't recognize the calories you drink the same way it does when you eat the fruit. As a result, you end up consuming more empty calories from juice or sugar-sweetened beverages than you would when eating the whole fruit. Does this mean that you should swear off fruit juice altogether? Well, that depends. If you're overweight, looking to lose weight, if you're insulin resistant, or if you have type 2 diabetes, you should probably consider avoiding all fruit juice. Even if you don't have an issue with your weight or blood sugar, go easy on fruit juice. If you didn't squeeze it yourself or get it straight from another juicer, you should probably avoid it. Quote unquote healthy drinks like quote green drinks can contain more sugar than a can of Coke or Pepsi. What? More sugar in those healthy drinks than Coke or Pepsi? The only exception that I found to this is a company called Farmer's Juice. Farmer's Juice, I've checked out their green juices using my continuous glucose monitor, and it stood the test for at least me specifically. If you're going to drink your fruit, you're better off just replacing fruit juices with smoothies. And you have to note that even with smoothies, the fiber from the blended fruit is substantially broken down, and you didn't have to do the work to break it down. So you'll still absorb the sugar faster than if you would have just eaten the fruit whole. If you're making smoothies at home, stick to low glycemic fruits like blueberries, strawberries, and then put heaps of other produce in there like kale and spinach, ginger, celery, and cucumber. And always include healthy fats like avocados, nuts, and seeds. Okay, that was a lot of information. So to help you out when you get to the grocery store and when you're in the kitchen, here's just a summary of everything that we covered today. What fruit should I eat? Here's the list: wild blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries. Fresh or flash frozen are okay. Stone fruit like plums, peaches, nectarines, apricots, and cherries. Now, some of these fruits that I just listed are on the Environmental Working Group Dirty Dozen list. And with these fruits, you should probably buy them organic if possible, if you're able to. The ones off this list that they suggest buying organic are the strawberries, the peaches, the nectarines, and the cherries. So strawberries, peaches, nectarines, and cherries are on the Dirty Dozen list. You should probably be better off buying those organic. Other fruits that you should eat: oranges, grapefruits, tangerines, lemons and limes, and the other citrus fruits, pomegranates, kiwis. Oh, kiwis, so good. Papayas and pears. Pears are also on the Dirty Dozen list and should probably be purchased organic if possible. And if you can't, just wash them really thoroughly before eating. And then weird fruits like goji berries, Goji, goji berries, or snake fruit, acai berries. Now you have to be careful because acai berries are different than the acai bowls that you buy at these health stores. The acai bowls are loaded with sugar. I don't think I've had anything spike my glucose with my continuous glucose monitor as bad as an acai bowl has done. So just be really careful. This is talking about acai berries. Gooseberries. Gooseberries have become a fan favorite in my house. They're kind of weird and they kind of have like a weird squish to them, but they are so, the word I would use is satisfying, really satisfying when you crunch into them. Really good. Mangosteen or dragon fruit. These are all weird fruits that you can incorporate that are really good to eat. And then again, fat fruits like avocados, coconuts, and olives, they're also fantastic. Now, what fruits should you limit? You should limit grapes. I've heard a ton of content on how grapes are actually not that great for you. So limit grapes, especially because you can just sit there and eat them mindlessly and just totally rack up some high sugar content. Also on this list is mangoes, which is very upsetting to me because I love mangoes. So grapes, mangoes, and melons, they're all delicious, but they're so sugary. Eat them in small quantities. This is a problem for me because my all-time favorite snack ever is dried mangoes. I could eat an entire Costco-sized bag in like 2 days. Costco has 2 different kinds over there. So if you're going to buy the Costco brand, they have a Philippines kind that's in blue and white. I used to eat those every day, but they recently just started this. They started selling this organic dried mango in an all black bag with a see-through front. Holy hello, freaking delicious. I eat my mangoes around my physical activity and I enjoy every second of it. Usually I eat probably 1 hour before a workout or 30 to 60 minutes after, and it's been totally fine for me. So if you're gonna have dried mangoes, dried fruits, if you're gonna have those small quantities of melons or grapes, eat them around your physical activity and you should be fine. Bananas. Bananas are quite starchy and high in sugar, especially the way that we have currently bred them into our present day. Back decades ago, a banana was like a third of the size with more seeds in it. Now they're huge and mostly devoid of seeds. This will have an impact on how our bodies process the fruit. If your goal is fat loss, it's probably best to limit your consumption of bananas to around your physical activity and try not to put a ton of bananas into smoothies. So if you're making a smoothie, don't stick 2 huge bananas in it. Maybe just go half for some flavor. Again, dried fruits like figs, dates, raisins, and currants are high in sugar, and they sometimes contain added sugar and sulfites as preservatives. The old Costco dried mangoes that I used to eat, the ones with the blue and the white, they had so much added sugar, which is probably why I love them so much. They were addicting. I now avoid that particular brand. So if you're buying the dried fruit, make sure that you stay away from ones that have lots of added sugar to it. Dried fruit has enough sugar in it as it is. Pineapples. Pineapples are a good source of enzyme called bromelain, which helps to alleviate inflammation and improve joint health. Pineapples, but they are also very high in sugar. So limit yourself to no more than about 1/3 of a cup per day. Can you see the moderation theme here? Moderation with these certain types of fruits. Conventionally grown apples and strawberries are among the worst offenders for pesticides. So apples, conventionally grown, and strawberries tend to have the most pesticides on them. These fruits are highly recommended to buy organic. Also, consider when you're reaching for apples to reach for the more tart apples like Granny Smith apples, which have less sugar than the sweeter varieties like Red Delicious apples. Stay away from fruit juice, especially any kind that you didn't squeeze yourself. This could really be one of the easiest levers that you can pull if you are currently trying to lose weight and you're consuming lots of fruit juice or lots of smoothies or any other type of quote unquote healthy juices that you buy from the grocery store. Stay away from the fruit juices. Try not to drink your calories at all if your goal is to lose weight. Our ancestors have been eating fruit for thousands of years, so it comes as no surprise that fruit in its whole food form has beneficial effects for our health. The problems with fruit start to develop when we overconsume the high glycemic fruits, extract their fructose, and use it for industrially processed sweeteners, or we just pulverize it into a liquid so that we can drink tons of it without its fiber content. So humans getting in the way of what nature intended. Yes, our ancestors ate fruit only when it was in season, and this was when we were able to store up high energy, store up enough energy to survive the harsh, low food environment during the winter. High energy and great nutrients, fruit is amazing, but it can also backfire on us when we have deviated well away from the lives of the way that our ancestors used to live. Hashtag DoorDash me some quadruple stuffed Oreos on top of my hashtag Haagen-Dazs chocolate chip ice cream cookie dough. Hashtag YOLO. One fruit that I would like to highlight, one of my absolute favorites, blueberries. The health benefits of eating blueberries are insane. I try to get at least one handful of blueberries in every single day. Here are 11 health benefits of blueberries. Number 1, blueberries are nutrient rich. 150 grams can supply 1/4 of the vitamin C and manganese requirements and 1/3 of your vitamin K1 needs for the day. It also provides vitamin E and copper. Number 2, supports gut health. Blueberries have antioxidants and fiber that both support your gut health, and some of these antioxidants directly affect your microbiome. Number 3, antioxidants. Blueberries have one of the highest antioxidant contents of all the fruits and vegetables. Number 4, reduce DNA damage. One study showed that 20% reduction in free radical activity happened in otherwise healthy individuals when they consumed blueberries. 20% reduction in free radical activity. The mean age of this study was about 29 years old. Number 5, low risk of heart disease. Lower your risk of heart disease. 150 grams of blueberries every day can reduce your cardiovascular disease risk by up to 15%. This was according to a 6-month trial in older people with metabolic syndrome. Number 6, blueberries protect your brain function. Flavonoids in blueberries activate signaling proteins in the hippocampus, where memories are. Clinical trials have shown improvements in learning and memory tests in older people consuming blueberry juice for 2 months. Come on, clinical trials. Blueberry juice? Didn't you just listen to what we were talking about? We'll assume that you just didn't know. Use real blueberries next time. Sheesh. Number 7, improve memory and attention. 200 grams of blueberries in a smoothie every morning has been shown to improve memory and concentration in the afternoon compared to a placebo. Interesting. Number 8, controls your blood sugar. Anthocyanins in blueberries can improve your insulin sensitivity. Consumption of blueberries may block certain digestive enzymes, and this can help reduce blood sugar spikes after a meal. So maybe consuming some blueberries after a high glycemic meal might help control your blood sugar. Number 9, regulate cholesterol. 50 grams of blueberries every day has been shown to lower oxidized LDL, which is what they call the bad cholesterol, by up to 27%. 50 grams of blueberries drops LDL 27%. Number 10, lower blood pressure. Consumption has been shown to lower blood pressure by 4 to 6% over the course of an 8-week trial. And number 11, promotes muscle recovery. My ears perked up when I heard this. In one study, a smoothie containing 200 grams of blueberries significantly increased recovery of peak strength after a muscle-damaging eccentric exercise protocol compared to the placebo. So all that means is that people felt less sore after drinking a smoothie that contained 200 grams of blueberries, because when you do eccentric training, that's where you create the most muscle damage. So really cool study there. Blueberries are packed with nutrient-dense antioxidants, fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and are being mentioned in the categories of superfoods. So I've personally added 1 to 2 cups of blueberries into my diet each night. In closing, hopefully this convinces you that fruit has rightfully earned its place in a balanced and well-rounded diet. But it's important to note the consequences of consuming too much fructose, especially if you're already borderline diabetic or battling insulin resistance or high blood sugar or a combo of any of them. I personally view fruit myself as a high nutrient, delicious treat that I look forward to and I indulge on a daily basis. It's a staple for me to eat berries at night after dinner, along with my dark chocolate 95% cacao. Also, ever since reading Dr. William Lee's book, Eat to Beat Disease, if you haven't read Eat to Beat Disease, this one is a helpful one. It gives you lists of food that you could eat when it comes to whatever goal you're looking for when it comes to your health. And after I read this book, it convinced me to add also 2 whole kiwis into my daily routine as well, for their vitamin C content, their fiber, and for their ability to help manage blood pressure and blood sugar. They also help bring positive improvements to the microbiome and to the DNA of our cells. Plus, kiwis are freaking delicious. If you get it at the right ripeness, oh man, so good. So kiwis and blueberries, I make sure that I get those in every single day. I highly recommend that you start incorporating those into your diet as well. Moral of the story, eat your fruit. Stop scaring people and telling them that fructose is in it, unless they're processing the fruit in a way that nature did not intend. Eat fruit in moderation, friends. Enjoy the sweet flavors of Mother Nature's candy. And that's it, my friends, for this week's MEGAphone episode. Each week, we're going to focus on sharing information that will help you with your health, fitness, and wellness journey. Share the knowledge that you gained with your friends, your family, and hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed this content, it helps a ton if you could post on your social media stories a screenshot of this episode with one takeaway that you learned. Or better yet, let me know what your favorite fruit is and how and when you eat it. Make sure you tag me and share your journey. I'd love to hear from you. Tag me at Livin the Dream _podcast or at Coach Damien _SD. And let us know how this episode benefited you. Let's get more people on this lifelong learner train and join the Livin the Dream team. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that will help your Livin the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I will be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.